In 2006, an experiment conducted by two psychologists aimed to investigate if a judge's sentence decision could be influenced by a random information. 42 experienced legal professionals were given the materials from a certain case. It was requested to evaluate it and give an appropriate sentence. And after a while, they were asked to imagine that they had received a call from a journalist, asking if they would give a sentence to the defendant higher or lower than a certain period. For half of the participants, the journalist asked if the sentence time would be higher or lower than 1 year, and for the other half, higher or lower than 3 years. All other information regarding the case was the same. Only the period in the journalist's question was changed. Would their final sentences be influenced by this clearly irrelevant information? In today's video, we'll talk about anchoring and how it can influence our daily decisions. Hey guys, Yamani Brain here, welcome to Practical Knowledge. In the field of behavioral economics, anchoring is defined as the use of a previous information as reference to evaluate or estimate some unknown value or information. This means that when we have to make a decision, we rely too much on the last piece of information we have, and sometimes this past information is completely irrelevant to the decision. In the previous study, the results showed that the group that was asked whether the sentence would be higher or lower than 1 year gave an average a sentence of 25 months to the defendants. On the other hand, the other group gave an average of 33 months, 8 months of difference for the same case, and there was nothing different for the two groups, except for the journalist's question. Although the sentence that criminal judges impose should be immune to random influences, the research showed that when the participants were exposed to a random number, it affected their legal decisions. So this is clearly an anchoring effect, and we can find it in other areas, like in our finances. For example, when we are trying to sell a car or a house, usually the price of selling is largely influenced by the purchase price other than the average price that the market is suggesting, or a suitable valuation of how much that property is worth. And anchoring may influence all kinds of purchases actually. When people move to a new city, generally remain anchored to the prices they paid in their former city. Of course that over the time, these people will get used to the new prices, but this is nothing more than a new anchor being established. A discount is another way to see the anchoring effect, because if only the discount price was shown without its previous value, we wouldn't have a reference to determine whether that offer is a good deal or not. Even an investor will tend to hang on to a losing investment by waiting to break even at the purchase price. Instead of selling it to realize the loss, he takes on greater risk by holding his investments in the hope it will go back up at least to its purchase price. But how are these anchors created in the first place? Well, first of all, it's very difficult to evaluate the price of something if we don't have any kind of benchmark, especially when we're talking about a new service or product. Imagine when the first iPad was released. When Steve Jobs launched the iPad, he performed a whole presentation showing all the benefits that this new device would bring, combining the best of a smartphone and the best of a notebook. By the end of his presentation, he said,
"What should we price it at?" Well, if you listen to the pundits, we're going to price it at under $1,000, which is code for $999. When we set out to develop the iPad, we not only had very ambitious technical goals and user interface goals, but we had a very aggressive price goal, because we want to put this in the hands of lots of people. And just like we were able to meet or exceed our technical goals, we have met our cost goals.
Now, pay attention to what will happen.
And I am thrilled to announce to you that the iPad pricing starts not at $9.99, but at just $499. $499.
Okay, the interesting point is that he uses the phrase according to the pundits. It creates a sense of authority. I mean, people capable enough define the price at $9.99, right? Now, when we see the price dropping to $4.99, it automatically creates a sentiment that this is a great deal because something will be negotiated by half of the price that it's supposedly worth. And after that, whether you see another company selling a similar tablet for $2.999, for example, you will think it's expensive. And if you see a price like $9.99, you will probably get suspicious. In other words, the anchor was set. This is called arbitrary coherence, and this term means that once a price is established, it shapes not only what we are willing to pay for, but also how much we are willing to pay for related products. What companies try to do is add value to their products or services in a way that some aspect will differentiate them from their competitors. It could be niche, the quality, the strength of the brand, or another perceived benefit. And one reflection that Dan Ariely makes about anchoring in his book Predictably Irrational is that most of our decisions, maybe it's not based on our preferences, but on our memory set previously by an anchor. Which means that when you are deciding which supermarkets you will go to, where you will have lunch, which people you will be close to, and which ones you will avoid, those decisions may not be taken with full awareness, but they are just a product of arbitrary coherence. So, what can we do? Before answering that, I would like to know, what did you think so far? Have you found yourself in a situation that the anchoring effect influenced your decision? Let me know in the comments, and if you haven't yet, I ask you to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. This is supporting the creation of more content like this. Okay, one of the things that Ariely covers in his book to deal with the anchoring effect is to start questioning some habits. We are so used to react in certain ways that we don't stop to think if that decision is being made consciously or if we are just acting on autopilot. Of course, some anchors are useful because they serve as an alert to us in a way that we don't commit a mistake. But on the other hand, these anchors can be holding us back to try certain things. For example, you may find yourself not playing any sports because when you were younger, you weren't very stimulated to do so, or maybe someone told you that you weren't good enough, and whenever you thought about playing any kind of sports, that anchor pulled you back. But the reality is that if you have enough practice and discipline, we can virtually be good at a lot of things, even if our first attempts were not pleasurable. If you have seen an offer and think you have to buy it because otherwise you miss the discount, there are sites that monitor the price changes for a given product. So you can check not only if that discount has already been given, but also how often the product is on sale. If you are holding a losing investment, it's important to evaluate whether its bad performance is due to some external factor, such as a change in the economy, a bear market, etc., or if that investment actually lost its value and your emotions are playing a role to create expectations without a solid foundation. I hope you found this video relevant, and if you want to see another great one, I'll leave you with this one right here. Don't forget to share this video with the people you think it will be useful. Be safe, guys, and stay tuned.